Today's topic is...
Verisimilitude.
What is verisimilitude?
The feeling of reality.
But not reality itself.
Yes, it's the Matrix.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome once again to
Waypan.
I'm Cal.
And I'm Sunny.
Today's topic is verisimilitude.
What is verisimilitude, Cal?
So verisimilitude is the feeling of reality. It's when a fictional setting, generally, gives you the feeling of it being real. As an example, Superman flying is fine. That can have a feeling of reality to it, especially when you see the wind gusting behind him, his cape blowing. But when verisimilitude is broken would be, for example, Clark Kent is this 6'5" farm boy, super strong, all of that sort of thing. And they think glasses. Glasses is what stops you from realizing that
He is Clark Kent.
Yeah, well, he is Superman.
Oh, sorry. Yes, he is Superman.
It's okay. Yeah.
Why does that happen in the show? Like, people...
We can go into that
another time. But yes. Anyway, can you give us some examples for miniatures?
All right, yeah, I can. So, 1, rocks. 2, bases. 3, weathering.
Okay.
So, let's start with weathering, all right? All right. As an example, if you wanted to give water stains, wanted to give oil streaks, wanted to show rust, right? You could just do reality, right? And some people have really refined that, like Dirty Down Rust.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
That's an amazing product to use.
Yes, but for the majority of it, right, if you wanted to do water stains, you can't just drop some drops of water on a miniature.
And wait for it to dry and create like rust effects and stuff like that.
Or more importantly, like that wouldn't give you an accurate water stain because the scale is just too large and it makes the scale apparent. It's Clark Kent's glasses.
Yeah, so basically what you're saying is that when you put like a water droplet on your Mini, for example, that droplet is way too big to show what that size of that building actually is, which is meters high.
Yeah.
And you don't see giant raindrops on the side of buildings,
Yes.
right? So it's kind of like that.
Yes, so when like you have it go down and it streaks and it does that sort of thing through the paint, which you'll see on large scale buildings, you'll see that build up, right? You don't see just one big line
of waterfall rust.
Yes. Instead, right, you just see like little streaks coming down, that sort of thing.
Yes.
And so you have to make that.
Understand.
Now, I also said rocks.
Okay, what about rocks?
Okay, you know how often I use torn up corkboard as rocks?
Yeah.
Okay, so they obviously have the feeling of being like rocks, right?
Yeah, especially the texture and whatnot.
Especially at that scale, because when you have a lot of rocks at that scale, if I went out and got some gravel, right, it would immediately break your brain. Your brain just goes, no, I don't think so. And, this is not reality.
Like, you're not
Insert
using
clip.
literal rocks to make rocks. That's not how it works. You gotta think about the scale, the setting,
Yeah.
how it looks compositionally, how it all brings things together.
Exactly. It looks at it and it just goes, okay, this is all fake. And see, it's about immersion. It's about the feeling of reality. It's about believing in Superman. We all know Superman's not real, but it's about believing in it.
Yeah, the little things that the artist does to make you feel that, oh yeah, he's actually in a world somewhere, flying through the air. He's lifting things super heavy,
Yeah,
and all that sort of stuff.
And let's not even take it with like that kind of fiction. Like Bob Ross, he uses the fan thing, right?
Yeah.
To make the trees, right?
And then he does this fun thing with the palette knife to create reflections in the water.
Right, and this is obviously not reality, but it feels like it.
Yes.
And see, this is what artists do all the time. So that's what you have to do. You have to give a feeling of reality. Now, here is a really good example, right? I've talked about it before. The idea of snow.
And desert.
Yep. And imagine a field of snow, right?
Yes.
It's nothing but white. Mm-hmm. Imagine a desert. It's nothing but sand for just miles and miles and miles.
That's right.
Right? But if you are going to base your miniature and they've just got white all around them, okay, I'm sorry, you failed. You have failed because we are pattern recognition machines. We'll look at this and our brain will once again just do the I'm out.
You don't really know what's going on in the base,
Yes.
basically.
But if you do contextual clues, right? All right, you want to use pure snow. Fine. Let's say that you've got a mixed force of Imperial Guard and Space Marines. Now, you have the Space Marines up to their knees in the snow, right? And there's like a long carved path while they walk, right? And then the Imperial Guard, right? You have the snow up to that same level, but it's only their feet in the snow, right? And that shows the weight of them.
Right.
And your brain's just like, okay, I get it. Oh, yeah.
Well, here's a trick when you said that. So here's a little exercise people could do.
Yeah.
They could just grab any image that they feel like using as inspiration for a base, right? For example, let's grab an image of a desert. And maybe this desert has some skulls around, some desert lizards and tundras around, right?
Yep.
But instead, you could use the crop tool in like any image editing software, cheap ones, not necessarily Photoshop, whatever you've got. And you sort of move the crop tool around and you find which area gives you the most contextual clues within the cropped area. And that will give you an idea of what you need to include in your basing to create that level of verisimilitude.
Oh, yeah. For example, I know exactly where we are when you say that. I've got a picture of like a cow's skull, a skittering gecko type lizard, and the tundra, and I'm like, we're in the American Midwest.
Yeah, exactly.
And, you could do this for anywhere, right? That's the thing. You are not selling reality. This is not reality, right? You are selling the idea of reality.
You're selling the story, the feeling.
Yes. And see, the feeling is often very different to the reality, right?
Yeah, I suppose
And
you're right on that,
there's a reason why Hollywood does all of these stupid, cheap tricks. Like, for example, when we go to Mexico, suddenly everything... Oh, what... Is it sepia that they turn it?
I'm not too sure.
But you know how they do a color filter when you go to certain locations?
Yeah. No, I get what you're saying now. Yes. They have the little filters to make it look orange and stuff.
Yeah. And so, like, in Russia, it's blue. In Mexico, it's orange,
Yeah. To create the feeling of warmth and heat or cold when
Yeah.
you look at those colors.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which, okay, I know maybe a bit derailed, but this is something we pointed out to you yesterday when we were watching the Firefly show.
Yeah.
I said, something doesn't feel right about the scene every time they play the cowboy music and the firefly is going off, and I'm like, I know they didn't add the warp noise.
Yeah, and what I said was, it's because they're going for a certain feeling. They're going for a much more sort of gritty setting because there's no sound in space. And then you're just like,
Yeah. So that's an example of verisimilitude exercise as well.
All right, so what else can we do to increase verisimilitude?
I think I know.
And what's that?
Keep those brushes wet.